All right. The whole world is responding to Trump's peace plan. The whole world is seeing what Trump is offering on the table. Now, to be clear here, I want to say this as someone who's on the left but is politically homeless. I want this ceasefire deal to work. I want there to be a peace. I want the guns to be silent. And while Gaza is a moonscape, I do hope that the guns will continue to be quiet. But it doesn't look that way. And right now, President Trump has responded to Hamas saying that they planned to violate the ceasefire agreement. Which, if that's the case, here we go again. Here we go again. The whole world is responding. Here's Trump's response.
They're going to disarm, and because they said they were going to disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them.
How will you do that?
I don't have to explain that to you. But if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. They know I'm not playing games. Okay? Now, we did something monumental. We got the hostages back. That was the first thing we had to do. Above all else, get the hostages back. Now, they misrepresented because we were told they had 26, 24 of dead hostages, if we can use those terms. And it seems as though they don't have that because we're talking about a much lesser number. But that's a very tough subject. I want them back. That's what they said. I want them back. Also, they said they were going to disarm. And initially speaking, they needed, they did take out a couple of gangs that were very bad, very, very bad gangs, and they did take them out, and they killed a number of gang members. And that didn't bother me much, to be honest with you. That's okay. We had a couple of very bad gangs. It's no different than other countries. Like Venezuela sent their gangs into us, and we took care of those gangs. We have Washington, D.C., is one of the safest cities in the country. It was one of the worst cities in the country if you go back just a little while ago, right? Now it's safe. You can walk to work. Isn't it nice? But we have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes. You say
because
quickly.
everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it?
Okay. Well, here we are. Here we are. They will disarm. Now, what's going on here? Well, first of all, just want to pull this up here. All right. Wanted to play that video, because Trump's going to be repeating himself, but it's quite clear that we could be sailing into some very uncertain waters, and that uncertain water is the certainty of, someone's getting an itchy trigger finger. So let's talk about it. Ceasefire sparks fresh calls for global media access to Gaza. Now, I know what you're going to say, everybody that's watching. Global media access to Gaza. Make sure you got a lot of Kevlar on. Make sure you're in a heavily armored vehicle, and please make sure that vehicle has enough signs to say, "Hey, international press," because unfortunately, journalists and first aid workers have been targeted and hit by accident. So there's a fragile ceasefire right now, and hopefully, it's set to begin very soon. At least according to this article, it's set to be happening on Friday, which, if that's the case, great. I hope it lasts. But see, the problem is that press groups are now demanding justice for more than 200 journalists that were slaughtered in Palestinian territory over the past 2 years. Now, these are journalists. These are people on the ground. They're there reporting the news. And unfortunately, 200 of them lost their lives. See, the thing is, when the global media has access, should it get access, see, a lot of questions are going to be brought up, and there's going to be things that, the press are going to need to see. They're going to need to have full access. You just can't deny access. One thing that's going to be abundantly clear is there's no skyline in Gaza. It's all rubble. It's all a graveyard. Second, people are starving. You won't be able to ignore the fact that there are men, women, and children starving, especially the imagery of children who are dying because of lack of food and medicine. And then, of course, we have to take into account the death toll. 67,000. At least that's the amount. I know that at least that's the amount that's being reported to us. We know that the number's higher. So I just want to put this out here as well. Um, So let's talk about the media. Let's do this. Let's do this. Sorry about this. Since the fragile ceasefire in Gaza Strip began on Friday, press freedom advocates and critics of Israel's genocidal assault have issued new calls for the international media access to the decimated Palestinian territory, including the largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy group in the United States. We encourage American and international media outlets to demand direct, unsupervised access to Gaza in the wake of the ceasefire agreement. The Council of American Islamic Relations, CAIR, said in a statement on Monday as Hamas returned 20 hostages taken on October 7th, 2023, and Israel released over 1,900 imprisoned Palestinians, most of whom were taken captive by Israeli forces over the past 2 years. The CAIR urged reporters to demand access to the 1,700 Palestinian men, women, and children going free after Israeli occupation forces abducted them from Gaza, held them without charge, and reportedly subjected them to torture in prisons run by Itmar Ben-Gvir, the country's far-right minister of national security. As Drop Site News Ryan Grimm noted on social media, some Palestinians are already speaking out about the torture they endured. My God, absolute madness and insanity. But I also want to address something here too, okay? Because while there is a ceasefire or potential one happening, the amount of pain and suffering that we are seeing, remember, all of this could have been avoided. Now, right now, this is all on Trump. But he found it like that when he got there. That's what he saw. He saw it. He saw it firsthand. And I will be doing a follow up segment on the Democrats and their response to the ceasefire. Because, again, the ceasefire, it's only as good as if the people who are in command, who are in charge, want it to remain that way. Because I'm already seeing people getting antsy and itchy and excited to go ahead and launch another missile, launch another round, do something of that nature. So I'm going to pull up this video here because, hey, ceasefire, ceasefire, ceasefire. Let's go and play this video.
People told me thanks Trump for the ceasefire. Let's thank him in the right way. Thank you for giving the IDF billions of dollars to defend themselves from our children. Thank you for using the veto not once, 10 times to make sure the bombs falling for us. Veto. Thank you for sending smart muscle. It's so smart. Always find their way to our children. Thank you for calling it self-defense. I didn't know defense mean bombing school and hospitals. And thank you for your silence. It's so louder than any exploitation we hear.
Going on a little bit more. Just wanted to address this. Now, some videos I won't be able to play, but I want to point out, as I said earlier in the segment, 200 journalists have been killed by Israeli forces, and the reporters still alive in Gaza need immediate care and support. Right? There needs to be justice and accountability and protection of the free press. The whole world needs to see what is happening in Gaza. Now, Trump has indicated and has stated that Hamas will disarm or we will disarm them. Well, just want to point this article out again, just so everyone can see it. Hamas must disarm or be disarmed by force. So Trump made the remarks on Tuesday while hosting the Argentinian president at the White House. If they don't disarm, we will disarm them, and it will happen quickly and perhaps violently, but they will disarm. But they will disarm. Do you understand me? He added, insisting that it should take place in a reasonable period of time. Trump stated that he had conveyed messages to Hamas, which agreed to disarm in accordance with his 20-point peace proposal. The U.S. president later clarified that he communicated with Hamas through intermediaries. Trump's previous comments have indicated, however, that Hamas could retain a limited presence in Gaza following reports of a direct meeting between White House envoys and Hamas negotiators, which marked the highest level discussions ever held between the two parties. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov stated earlier this week that Trump's peace plan for Gaza is the best thing on the table at the moment, but it does not fully resolve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Nor will it. All what this war has done is lay down the foundations for the next war. All what this war has done is, well, cause more pain and suffering. All what this war has done is just prepare ourselves for the next one. we've learned nothing. And if the ceasefire is successful, those who have committed the crimes the most, especially bombing indiscriminately, are going to get away with it. There's no sugarcoating this. And I'm just not talking about, the Israeli military. No, I'm talking about international leaders too, from Europe to the USA, Canada, all over, including the corporate media. We all saw the images. We all saw people starving. We all saw innocents being taken out, snuffed out of existence. And we let it happen. The whole world saw it happen until it became too much to bear. It's abundantly clear that there's only a limit to what the world will stomach. Doesn't that say a lot about man's inhumanity to man? And for all the protests out there, for all the people who are protesting now, who are joining out there now, it's good to see you again after so long. It's good to see the protests in mass. It's good to see everybody out there screaming from the rooftops about how bad and evil Donald Trump is. But where were you before then? All this could have been stopped from the get-go way early on.